Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. And many thanks to all the members of our community who will either join later on or will watch a video of this stream in a recording during the day or tomorrow. Today is 31st of July. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and Vladikavkaz time, where I am for a summer holiday right now. North Ossetia, Alania, capital of Autonomous Republic. And well, as always, I have prepared a news segment for this stream. And after news segment, I will join community chat for 15, 20, 30 minutes to have exchange of opinions in real time. And what else for an intro? In community chat, dear friends, if you want to make sure that I did not miss your question by chance, if you want to make sure that your question or the comment has been highlighted during the stream, you can use a super chat on Rumble, and of course I will pay attention to it as always. And so, yes, that's been said, let's start with the news segment. A lot of important developments, dear friends, and well, traditionally I will start with reporter from Russian media about latest update of Defense Ministry on the work of air defense systems on duty. RIA Novosti is reporting that air defense systems overnight intercepted 32 drones that was launched by Kyiv regime with assistance of its NATO backers to strike deep into Russian territory. I can give you some details on that. So 11 drones were intercepted over the Volgograd region. Also 7 drones in direction of Crimea. In Voronezh and Belgorod regions were intercepted 5 drones each. In Tambov and Rostov regions, 2 drones each. Not that large-scale attempt of Kyiv regime and NATO to strike deep into Russian territory. I guess they are saving some drones to launch massive attacks deep into Russian territory once Trump's so-called ultimatum will expire in 8 days. Now, maybe that is the reason that Kyiv regime and NATO only launched a couple of dozens of drones. Nevertheless, it is good to know that Russian air defense systems are always on top of the game and intercepting vast majority of the incoming aerial targets. Also, dear friends, Russian armed forces conducted long-range precise strikes on military and logistics infrastructure of the Kyiv regime in a number of directions, including Kiev. And let me show you some of the videos that are circulating on the internet about these strikes. For example, this video, short clip. Or this video. So, and there are dozens of other videos, by the way, that are circulating on internet about strikes and the aftermath of these strikes. No details at this point, but during the day, Russian Defense Ministry probably will provide us information what exactly was targeted in Kiev. But strikes did take place also in Zhytomyr region, Pavlograd direction, Dnipropetrovsk region. Giran drones, and there are also missiles, cruise missiles, ballistic or tactical missiles were used during these strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime, and there are also military facilities that are engaged in production of drones or reassembling of their drones and repairs of their military equipment of Kyiv regime. During the day, I'm quite sure Russian Defense Ministry will provide us update on that. And also, dear friends, I will say breaking news for this moment, news that many people here in Russia and I guess worldwide among Russia supporters were expecting to hear, which is that Russian troops finally have liberated Chasov Yar. This information is confirmed by Defense Ministry, and report from RIA Novosti is, to go into details, that units of their southern group of forces have taken control of the city of Chasov Yar in DPR. Russian Defense Ministry reported as a result of offensive actions by southern group of forces in Kramatorsk-Drushkovka direction, the city of Chasov Yar of their Donetsk People's Republic was fully liberated, the statement said, and this is a big deal, obviously. Battle for Chasov Yar basically had begun straight after Bakhmut was liberated by Russian forces. You remember ordeal with the Bakhmut city, and their battles for Chasov Yar were taking many months, by the way, many months, due to a number of reasons. After all, Russian armed forces were conducting sectoral scale offensive operations in many other directions. So Chasov Yar was not the main focus of the Russian armed forces, but progress was obvious. On daily basis, Russian troops were improving positions, securing already liberated areas, and there finally we get there. Chasov Yar is completely liberated, which is definitely big deal. When it comes to battlefield, dear friends, I will highlight progress of the Russian armed forces in Kupiansk direction also, which is a Kharkov region. Russian troops launched local scale offensive operation from Sipovo and Novoselka towards Kupiansk. This is southern eastern direction, and also obviously, we all know, I was reporting about it earlier, that Russian troops basically encircled Kupiansk from northern western side, and on your screen right now you can see these circles around the settlements that were liberated by Russian forces exactly on the western and the northern flank from their city, important city at this point on a battlefield. And I guess it will not take long before we will see significant scale operations began inside Kupiansk itself. Already Russian DRGs are operating in a city, and according to number of reports, although this is not confirmed officially by Defense Ministry, but according to number of sources, Russian troops are already in control of number of blocks inside Kupiansk itself. Also, when it comes to developments on a line of contact, you remember I was reporting that Kyiv regime sent a significant number of reserve forces in northern part of Sumy region, where Russian armed forces creating a buffer zone quite successfully, I will say. And as a result of deployment of this larger reserve forces of the Kyiv regime, there was some sort of operational pause in the northern Sumy. Allegedly, Kyiv regime's forces managed to reclaim control over the Kondratrovka settlement, although this information not yet being confirmed by Russian Defense Ministry. But nevertheless, what I want to highlight is that, well, the situation has been stabilized. Despite the deployment of these larger reserve forces by Kyiv regime, they were unable to break into Russian defense lines in this area to regain initiative. I guess these reserve forces of the Kyiv regime are running out of steam now. Reports are, by the way, that during the battles, Russian armed forces neutralized the special forces of the Kyiv regime. A colonel of the special forces of main intelligence directorate of Kyiv regime's defense ministry was also neutralized as a result of battles in this direction. Reports are that yet another entire unit of Kyiv regime special forces was ambushed in exactly Kondratovka direction and completely eliminated, which is also success on the Russian part. But nevertheless, what is most important at this point, that despite all the attempts by Kyiv regime and its NATO backers to regain initiative in northern Sumy area, they failed there. They failed big time. They are running out of steam now, and I guess either before end of this week or next week, probably we will see resumption of the Russian offensive in this direction. And I guess one of the first settlements that will be secured by Russian forces will be exactly the Kondratovka settlement that is disputed at this point, let's say this way. Also, interesting reports from Kherson direction, dear friends, where allegedly, based on information from a number of sources, Kiev regime troops tried to cross a railway bridge on the Dnieper River on the northern side of Kherson. On your screen, you can see, by the way, on the left corner here, Kherson itself, city. And bridge is located here where you see this white circle. And the Kiev regime's troops were trying to cross this railway bridge, through bridge itself, and also same time, number of boats were deployed. Russian troops were monitoring the situation, and as a result of Russian fire, Kiev regime's forces were neutralized. This attacking force was neutralized, and then Russian troops take on offensive and clear the bridge completely and establish a Russian flag on the bridge, which is also important development, I will say, because now due to activization of their military operations in the Kherson direction, one may argue that either Kiev regime's forces or the Russian forces are planning to go ahead with the sectoral scale offensive operations. Both are possible. Both scenarios are possible because, as we all had observed in previous years, every summer NATO was basically ordering Kiev regime to launch offensive operations, sectoral scale offensive operations, and I think NATO will go ahead with the similar actions this year too, and will order Kiev regime to send whatever reserves they have on yet another suicidal offensive. And where this offensive might take place is anybody's guess. It might be southern sectors, Kherson, Zaporozhye, for example, where Russian troops are locked and ready to repel whatever enemy will come up with. And also, as I said in previous updates, there is a theoretical, at least, possibility that Kiev regime's forces will concentrate more troops in Chernigov region and will try to break into a Bryansk region of the Russian Federation, for example. This is also theoretically, at least, possible. Whatever the case, obviously, Russian Defense Ministry is monitoring the situation, and Russian troops are yet again locked and ready. At the same time, by the way, we should keep in mind that Russian troops are activating their operations in southern sectors, Kherson, Zaporozhye, and also basically all along the front line. And therefore, it is also a possibility that Russian armed forces will actually launch offensive, sectoral scale offensive operations in this direction, either in Kherson region with a massive crossing of the Dnieper River, maybe in the Zaporozhye region, where Russian troops already have managed to achieve quite significant progress with the local scale offensive operations. Just recently, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Russian troops liberated Kamenka settlement. As you know, I was reporting about it, and Kamenka was a major stronghold of the Kyiv regime on the western flank of Zaporozhye region. Nevertheless, to finalize, basically, Russian initiative is in Russian hands, in hands of Russian troops all along the front line, and no matter with what kind of operations Kyiv regime and its NATO backers come up with, there is not even theoretical chance that they can either turn the tide of this fighter or regain initiative on any of their directions. That's how it is. Also, dear friends, some details about losses of the Kyiv regime during the previous 24 hours. TASS News Agency is reporting that Kyiv regime's forces lost more than 1,300 troops just in previous 24 hours all along the front line. Daily stuff, by the way. These kind of reports are coming in literally on daily basis, that Kyiv regime every single day is losing 1,300 military personnel, up to 1,500 military personnel. I mean, these informations are one of the reasons why many military experts, not just here in Russia, but also, for example, in the Western world, are anticipating that Kyiv regime's defense lines will no longer manage to basically hold on defensive lines. And many experts are expecting collapse. Many experts are expecting collapse of Kyiv regime's defense lines, and then domino effect to take place, because allegedly Kyiv regime is mobilizing about 20-30,000 troops on monthly basis, forcefully mobilizing. A significant number of these troops are using first opportunity to surrender once they will end up on the line of contact. Also, there is a high rate of desertion on in Kiev regime's forces, and if you take overall losses, monthly losses, you will find, numbers don't lie, isn't it? Kiev regime is losing basically twice more troops on a monthly basis that they are able to actually mobilize and send to the front line, and then to force them to actually fight. But as I said, there are a significant number of Kiev regime's troops using first opportunity to contact Russian side and surrender, and there is a high rate of desertion too, and even Western media outlets are basically acknowledging now this, that every third, every fourth forcefully mobilized military personnel in Kiev regime's so-called armed forces are deserting, and quite often they are killing their officers and deserting like that. Anyways, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that Ukrainian armed forces, and I spoke about this yesterday too, but I think news is very important to highlight with whom we are dealing when it comes to Kyiv regime and its NATO backers. So Ukrainian armed forces change prisoners' status to a missing in action to reduce their payments. So the commander of the 95th Airborne Assault Brigade of Ukrainian Armed Forces is changing the status of prisoners to missing in action. Prisoners of war, by the way. They are changing status of POWs, Ukrainian POWs, to a missing in action in order to reduce the amount of payments to relatives after Russian media published confirmations of their being captured and their friends. We should keep in mind that Russian armed forces only releasing information about POWs when POWs, while being captured, are saying that they want to be part of POW exchange. Thousands and thousands of Ukrainian POWs refusing to participate in POW exchanges because they know they're going to end up on the line of contact soon after being released. And when there is such a case, information about these POWs is getting classified to make sure that their relatives would not be harassed by the regime and would not be terrorized. It is impossible to make sure that this will work in every single case, but Russian side is doing whatever is possible to basically secure not just POWs, but their relatives also that are still on the Kyiv-controlled territory. But when POW says that he or her willing to be part of prisoner exchange, POW exchange, information is being released in that case. And when Kyiv regime is find out that this personnel is a POW, they are changing their status on a missing in action, so that they would not pay compensations. And on this topic, dear friends, to highlight what are despicable elements have been supported by collective West in the Kyiv regime, many media outlets reported that bodies of the killed Ukrainian military personnel that Russia transferred recently to a Kyiv regime, and we are talking about 7,000 plus bodies of the killed military personnel, have been burned by Kyiv regime so that they would not pay compensations to their relatives. They are burning the bodies, by the way. Many media outlets did report about it. Maybe not all of them, but they are burning the bodies. They will, for media op, they will transfer bodies of dozen or 2 dozen of killed military personnel to their families. They will make sure that all their so-called Western media and the local so-called media will make reports about it. Rest will be burned, and their relatives will never find out what happened to their loved ones. That's the Kyiv regime, by the way, and that's the face of backers of the Kyiv regime from Western elites. And also, this information is no any less important. I spoke about it yesterday too, but I think it's worth to repeat that Kyiv Kiev regime, or Zelensky himself, to be more precise, signed a law expanding mobilization to men over 60 years as Ukraine's war effort strains. So what can I say, dear friends? Until now, men from 25 to 60 were forcefully mobilized. And now they're going to basically mobilize literally everybody over 24 that can stand on their feet and hold the rifle. Is this not a demonstration of desperation on part of NATO and the Kyiv regime? I think it is. And I remind you, dear friends, that there is a draft bill in State Rada in Ukraine, which is their so-called parliament, which will authorize, if adopted, which will authorize people to be mobilized from 18 to 24 also. And I think it is only a matter of time. And out of desperation, globalists and their puppet regimes in Europe, first of all, UK, France, Germany, and others, will force their proxy regime in Kiev to actually adopt this law and begin mobilizing this younger generation, people, teenagers, basically. I mean, 18, 19, and, you know. Meanwhile, protests continue in Kiev-controlled territory, including in Kiev, protests in regards to Zelensky's assault on these so-called anti-corruption agencies, SAP and NABU. And we all understand that all these protests, there are too many indicators to know perfectly well that all these protests have been orchestrated by US Secret Services and with participation of British Secret Services, of course. Organizers of these protests are affiliated with many NGOs that were funded from the West, including by Soros founder, right? Soros founder, USAID, when USAID was still active, right? And so, as expected, and as I said many times before, I think Washington and London have had finalized their position. They want to replace Zelensky now, and therefore they will not stop these protests. These protests are orchestrated by London and Washington, and they're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop. And I mean, it is difficult to say when exactly they're gonna replace Zelensky. But I think before end of this year, Zelensky most likely will be replaced by Zaluzhny if Zelensky and his criminal associates will not take a hit on Zaluzhny. They might actually try to neutralize Zaluzhny, by the way, but I don't think this will save Zelensky anyways, right? Because I guess the decision was made to remove this personality from office. And on this matter, by the way, also interesting report that I highlighted yesterday too, which is coming from Anatoly Shary, Ukrainian journalist, public figure, politician. Now, according to Anatoly Shary, Zelensky is big time disappointed with his best buddy, Andrei Yermak, head of his office, who was participating in a secret meeting that took place in Alpes together with Budanov and Zaluzhny, who is serving as Ukraine's ambassador in UK, during the which allegedly topic of replacement of Zelensky was discussed and even agreed. Right. So now Zelensky wants to get rid of Yermak, and he might probably. And when it comes to this meeting that took place in Alps, by the way, between representatives of US, UK, also Andrei Yermak, head of presidential officer in Ukraine, so-called Ukraine, also Budanov, head of main intelligence directorate of Kyiv regime's defense ministry, and Valery Zaluzhny himself, former head of general staff of Kyiv regime. Information about this meeting, during the which agreement was reached to replace Zelensky. This information is coming from SVR, Russia's foreign intelligence service. So I have no reason to doubt this report even for a second. So some very big changes to be expected on a Kyiv-controlled territory when it comes to reshuffle of the regime, members of this Western-backed terrorist regime. And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I may, that as many of you know, this independent media project from Russia is completely subscriber funded and exists only as long as I have your support. So therefore, if you like my work, if you like to see possible further development of this project, please consider to support. You can do it through several means. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or through Boosty platform. Also, you can subscribe, of course, to my Patreon and their Boosty pages. And today, dear friends, I will definitely try to make extra on Patreon and Boosty. So I have quite often regular content, extra exclusive content on Patreon and Boosty, and you can subscribe if you want to support. Also, there is a crypto option, although very few people ever used that crypto option, but nevertheless, it is there. And during the live streams, dear friends, you can use a super chat feature on Rumble. I'm streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble. And during the streams, you can use Rumble platform to donate with through super chat feature, or you can become a premium subscriber there. By the way, everything counts, of course. All support counts. And it is thanks to you, dear friends, and your support that I'm still able to maintain this project and work in this field of news and political commentary. So many thanks to everybody who supported and continues to support. Thank you. That's been said, dear friends. Let's continue with more news. And well, so much to unpack, as I said in the beginning, by the way. And for example, as you know, Trump just a day or two ago issued a 10-day ultimatum, a new 10-day ultimatum to Russia, right? And he is elaborating now on his ultimatum. And he come up with some posts on his true social, how much he does not care about Russia's dead economy and India's dead economy and that kind of stuff. Let me give you some specifics on that term. For example, this is the post, by the way, you see on your screen that Trump come up with. So let me just read his post. I don't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together. For all I care. This is Trump, by the way. This is a president of US that is talking about in this format about foreign countries, right? And India is supposed to be ally of, US always treated, since the Second World War, by the way, Russia as their enemy, right? But at least there was attempts on part of Washington to normalize relationships with India. And take a look what Trump is talking about. It's alleged ally. Anyways, let's continue. So Trump says, I don't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together. For all I care. We have done very little business with India. Their tariffs are too high, among the highest in the world. Likewise, Russia and the US do almost no business together. Let's keep it that way. And tell Medvedev, he is responding to Russian former president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council. And tell Medvedev, the failed former president of Russia, who thinks he's still president, to watch his words. He is entering very dangerous territory. So he is now threatening Medvedev. And by doing so, because Medvedev is a high-ranking Russian official, he is threatening Russia again. What is wrong with this personality, by the way, with Trump? What has happened to him, dear friends? I mean, I know in our community there still are many members that are even from US that voted for Trump. Significant number of them have been disappointed big time, but still they are diehard Trump supporters, and not just in US, but even in our community, right? And I will just ask, dear friends, what the hell has happened with the Trump? It's like two different personalities, isn't it? before election, and maybe first 2 months after the inauguration, and now, I mean, last 2 months, Trump changed dramatically, right? Uh, I don't think he's that good of an actor that he was playing everybody during the election. He might have some, stand-up comedians features in him, some tools to, work with the public, right? Some knowledge on that, but I don't think he's that greater of an actor. And therefore, I don't think he was constantly lying during the election campaign. Maybe he was lying sometime, but not all the time, right? So probably there was some honesty there when he was saying that he wants to be president of peace and he wants to end the war here and there, and he won't be remembered as a positive figure in U.S. politics and politics of this world. But in last 2 months, statements of Trump are anything but, right, of the person that we saw during the election campaign. So what has happened to him? I mean, is he really being blackmailed? Maybe this is the case exactly. I mean, hard to know, but I don't know, man. This is not normal, by the way. This is not normal what Trump is doing, and obviously, neither New Delhi or the Moscow will ignore completely these statements of Trump. Although everybody understands that with Trump, you just never know when his statement has any meaning and when not. But nevertheless, Medvedev already had reacted on that. So, Deputy Chairman of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, commented on Trump's threats against him. And we have a quote from him. I posted this, by the way, on my Telegram and Twitter X pages also. If a few words from a former Russian president provoke such a nervous reaction from the supposedly mighty president of the United States, then it means Russia is absolutely right and will continue on its chosen path. And about the dead economy of India and Russia and entering dangerous territory, well, let him remember his favorite films about the Walking Dead, and also how dangerous a dead hand that does not exist in the nature can be, Medvedev said, and then laughing emoji right there. And dear friends, dead hand, what Medvedev is referring to is perimeter system, and it's a perimeter system known in the Western Europe and United States as a dead hand, which is automated control system for massive retaliatory nuclear strike created in USSR at the height of the Cold War, and they're used by Russia at this point. It is designed to ensure the delivery of the combat orders from their highest levels of the Commander, General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, the Strategic Missile Forces Command, to command posts and the individual launchers of the strategic missiles on combat duty in the event of an emergency when communication lines may be disrupted or damaged, right? And that's what Medvedev is referring to while mentioning dead hand. And this is also a message, by the way, I will say, very strong message. I would take these comments from Medvedev very seriously, by the way, because he's basically telling Trump not to mess around, because maybe Trump thinks that they can strike, they can come up with the first strike on Russia and eliminate leadership of Russia, military and political leadership, like there was an attempt of such an operation by Israel, relatively successful, but not fully successful. But there was clearly an attempt by Israel to decapitate Iranian political and military leadership, isn't it? And so Medvedev is basically saying that if you think that you can do something like that, decapitate Russian political and military leadership, let's remember your favorite movie, Walking Dead. And also, be aware of the dead-hander system that will launch a massive retaliatory nuclear strike on US anyways, no matter everybody from Russian political or military leadership is killed or just part of it. Russia will retaliate anyways, and US should not have illusions about it, right? And there, I mean, if this is not, I don't know, man. If how more clear messages has to be sent to US to let them know that they are playing with the fire, with the nuclear fire, and basically with the extinction level event. I don't know, man. I don't know, but and by the way, we should keep in mind that Medvedev is not just a former president of the Russian Federation. He is a current deputy chairman of the Security Council, and who knows, maybe future president of the Russian Federation. So his words definitely matters. His warnings definitely matters. And also we should keep in mind that Medvedev and Putin are best friends, right? And what Putin says diplomatically, Medvedev might say it in a more harsh, tougher ways, as he does on a regular basis. But you know, I don't know if there is people left in Western elites, by the way, who can actually understand what Medvedev is talking about, for example, in this particular warning, or what are all the other warnings from Russian officials meant. I really think there is either very few or maybe even nobody left in Western so-called elites who are intellectual enough to understand what the hell is going on and how dangerous this game is that they are playing, this bloody geopolitical game that actually may trigger extinction level event. And Medvedev is warning about it. Medvedev is warning about it. And in this virtual fight between Trump and Medvedev, Lindsey Graham also tried to steal some spotlight, right? And he went to say, Lindsey Graham is of course extreme Russia hater, puppet of neocons, right, in US Senate. And let's read what he had to say. Russia, you are right when it comes to sanctions. You have been able to avoid them, and you have learned to live with them. Apparently, what you don't understand is that President Trump is changing the game, and he is going to put tariffs on countries who buy your oil and gas, propping up your war machine. You might want to check with those countries soon to see if they have the same cavalier attitude that you do. A larger bipartisan majority stands ready to help President Trump in this endeavor. And I remind you, dear friends, that Lindsey Graham, Republican, and Blumenthal, also senator from Democrats, also extreme Russophobe, by the way, Russia hater, Zionist and the neocon, they initiated a bill which will, if implemented, impose some 500% tariffs on Russian trade partners, right? Especially ones that are engaged with Russia in the energy field, right? In energy sector when it comes to business. And well, Lindsey Graham, yet again, not really threatening Russia, directly at least, because I guess someone explained to him that Russians don't really care about their sanctions, right? But he is threatening Russia or Russian allies, let's say. He is threatening Russian allies now. And by doing so, indirectly, Russia too. And we have reactions, by the way. We have reactions from Russian trade partners and Russian allies. For example, India responds to Trump's 25% tariff. And Trump already announced, by the way, that he is going to, from 1st of August, he is going to implement 25% tariffs on India. So hours after US President Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on Indian goods, New Delhi said it would take all steps necessary to secure the interests of their domestic players. India and the US have been engaged in negotiations on concluding a fair, balanced, and mutually beneficial bilateral trade agreement over the last few months. We remain committed to that objective, the Indian Ministry of Commerce said in a statement. New Delhi cited the recently concluded deal on free trade with UK, stating that its approach to similar pact with the other its approach to similar pacts with the other nations, including the US, will remain the same. It will take into account the concerns and interests of its farmers, entrepreneurs, and the small and medium-sized businesses. And Trump earlier, by the way. So Indian response is diplomatic, and at this point, we might not really have a complete clarity. Will India bow down to Trump's threats or not? Probably not, but nevertheless, there is different opinions on internet. Many people are saying that India is just Indian political elites are just trying too hard to be allies with Western elites for whatever reasons, by the way. And there is a massive, allegedly, there is a huge influence of Western elites on Indian opposition, for example, right? Main opposition, political, to the current ruling party. And the current ruling party is also not immune, by the way, to Western influence. After all, India did buy French Rafale fighter jets, right? And main reason why they did it is not because Rafale fighter jets are any better than, for example, what Russia could provide, but because they wanted to build these relationships, closer ties with the West, somewhat forgetting their history, because it was exactly the West that basically decimated India in numerous occasions, right? And it was Moscow that saved India, or played a role India to be saved, let's say this way. Indian people saved India, right? But Moscow definitely helped with that. But nevertheless, at this point, I would not be surprised at all if India will actually cut ties with Russia. Unfortunately, there is such a risk, right? Because it's a complicated stuff, right? It's complicated stuff. But I think there is a possibility that India will severely cut ties with Russia to please Washington, London, and others in the West. Possibility, but well, China is different. China is different, obviously, and China is a main trading partner with Russia. And China declares a sovereignty in response to U.S. Threats of sanctions for buying oil from Russia. China will be guided by its own interests in its energy security policy, said the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhuang Jiakun, commenting on the U.S. threats to impose secondary sanctions against Russian energy sector. China will take reasonable energy security measures based on its national interests. There are no winners in a tariff war, and pressure will not solve their problem. Chinese foreign ministry is stating, and well, as I said, Beijing is much more clear. By the way, Beijing is not playing no games with the West, because they know U.S. is in no position to basically do much against China in economical terms. It's exactly the opposite. China can actually demolish U.S. economy. Literally, right? If Chinese want to, they might decimate U.S. economy in a couple of months' time. Literally, by the way. Right? That's how much U.S. is dependent on China. It's not other way around. Chinese export in U.S. Is only like 15% of Chinese overall exports. It's a big number, 15%, 1.5. But it's not like anything extraordinary, right? Let's keep that in mind too. While Chinese import for U.S. has tremendous importance, 40% or 50% of goods, by the way, in US has some Chinese trace in it, right? So what we are talking about. So yes, by the way, and Brazil already also said, dear friends, that Brazil will retaliate on US too. Brazilian leadership is not in mood to bow down to Trump or anybody for that matter. South Africa, by the way, is also on the same page. They're not going to bow down to nobody, right? Other BRICS member states, right, and BRICS allies, majority are on the very same page. But unfortunately, there are also countries in the BRICS, first of all, India, that might actually, for a number of reasons, might actually not just not just how should I say diplomatically, by the way, not just agree on US demands when it comes to bilateral relationships, but also India might agree to cut completely, either completely or significantly, business with Russia. And if India cuts business with Russia in energy field, okay, then this will influence obviously bilateral relationships big time, and their business never going to be the same in any other fields, right? It's just how it is, man. That's how life works, right? There might be very friendly statements on the top, from the top, from leadership of two countries, and very diplomatic statements, but we'll understand if India will cut ties with Russia now or decrease relationships, Russian side will see it as a betrayal, and I don't think relationships of these two countries will survive that. After this, relationship's gonna only get worse. Never hostile, by the way, never hostile, but the relationship's gonna deteriorate. So therefore, I hope India's leadership will find the strength to withstand pressure from the West, right? But yet again, we will find out. And by the way, when it comes to Trump's threat, he's basically declaring war, right, on the entire world, to be honest, and also on BRICS, right? And therefore, if India would not be able to withstand pressure from the West, then in that case, we might see India withdrawing from BRICS. In that case, we should not be surprised if sometime in the future India will withdraw from the BRICS, because there will be no way back. Once you bow down to the West, they will pressure you. They will pressure you constantly, and will demand from you 100% obedience. 100% obedience. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the Serbia, by the way. Serbian leadership currently is obedient to the West on 98%, 99% of demands, right? Only demands that Serbia current leadership under the Vucic's presidency, only points where Serbia is still reluctant to obey orders is recognition of Kosovo as an independent state and complete cut ties and support of Bosnian Serbs. Belgrade is not doing that. Only 2 points, by the way, right? Some might argue that, well, Serbia is not imposing sanctions on Russia, but this is not really true at this point. Formally, yes, Serbia is not imposing sanctions on Russia, but Serbia is selling weapons to Kyiv regime. Indirectly, but Serbia is engaged in a weapons trade, right? That is organized, orchestrated by their NATO. And weapons are ending up in the hands of Russian enemies. So therefore, the sanctions topics is a bit different. But there is two main reasons why Vucic is being attacked by the West, because he is not recognizing Kosovo and not cutting ties completely with the Bosnian Serbs, by the way, and greater patriot people that are leading Bosnian Serbs, by the way, true patriots of the Serb people, right? Dodik and others. and therefore, by the way, Vucic being attacked, right? In every other case, Vucic is compliant. But West wants 100% obedience, and Indian leadership should keep that in mind. That once they will bow down, that's it. There is no way back from there, by the way. So, yes, I don't know if, let's see what will happen. You know my take, my attitude towards India. I think Russia and India should be strategical partners, strategical allies forever, by the way, due to many reasons, historical ties and also geopolitical realities in this world. Just one glimpse on the map, one take on the map, and you will straight away understand why these two countries should be strategical allies, right? Why it is that important for both countries and also for global South stability and the world stability, right? But nevertheless, we will find out. We will find out what is going to happen. But Trump is definitely declaring war on the BRICS. And let me give you a short video on that, dear friends.
What is that additional penalty? And are other countries facing the same threat?
Well, we're negotiating right now, and it's also BRICS. You know, they have BRICS, which is basically a group of countries that are anti the United States, and India is a member of that, if you can believe it. It's an attack on the dollar, and we're not going to let anybody attack the dollar. So it's partially BRICS, and it's partially the trade, this trade situation. It's the deficit. We had a tremendous deficit. So, as you know, Prime Minister Modi is a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business in terms of business with us. They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. Now, they're willing to cut it very substantially, but we'll see what happens. We're talking to India now. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter too much whether we have a deal or whether we charge them a certain tariff, but you'll know at the end of this week. August 1st is a very big day for this country because money is going to pour into the United States like we've never seen before. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Resto is not interested. We all have seen, heard what Trump has to say about money going to pour into U.S. economy and that kind of stuff. Okay, you see, dear friends, what Trump is saying, that he's imposing 25% tariffs on India, partially because India is a member of BRICS. And therefore, during the negotiations, I mean, U.S. is not even hiding, U.S. leadership is not even hiding what is their goal there, is not it? They want India to cut business with Russia, and they want India to be out of BRICS. U.S. has declared war on BRICS. U.S. and the EU, by the way, they all have declared their war on BRICS because they know BRICS is one of the main foundational stones for emerging multipolar world. So if they manage to destroy BRICS, then, well, globalists probably think, globalists and Western analysts, that they're going to be in much better position in terms of dominating this world, right? So therefore, if, yet again, I hope India will manage to withstand this pressure from the West, but if not, then India will probably not just cut ties with Russia, but also will either become extremely destructive inside the BRICS, by the way, or will maybe even leave BRICS organization, which is going to be a big hit, by the way, big blow for emerging multipolar world, 100%. But yet again, you cannot keep countries inside the organization if they don't want to, right? So some very important developments gonna happen on this topic in terms of this matter. Let's see how the situation develops. But my hope is India will withstand the pressure and will stay in the BRICS. And I hope the Prime Minister of India will make a clear statement about all these developments, because statements that we see from now from India is not that clear. It's just very diplomatic. It's okay. It's very diplomatic and so on. But you see Chinese statement, by the way, they said, you know what, you are nobody to dictate us what to do. That's the Chinese attitude. They don't give a damn. They don't play no games, by the way. Indian side is just maybe tries too much to please the West or to, I don't know, by the way. We will find out, nevertheless. And so let's continue with more news, dear friends, because there is so much to unpack again. And for example, dear friends, this 10-day ultimatum, it's already 8 days left, isn't it? And many people, media, first of all, public figures worldwide, first of all, are focusing on a trade war that U.S. will wage or intensify once this 8 days will, once this ultimatum is expired. But I'm on a different page on this matter. I don't think after this ultimatum, U.S. and its allies will only go ahead with their intensification of the trade war. I think they will first of all escalate militarily, and my hope is that Russian political class and military elites are focused on that. First of all, because we can deal with the tariffs and sanctions, no big deal. But we should be focused more on risks of military escalation. And as I said, dear friends, escalation could be on a scale that will trigger extinction level event, right? And on that very topic, dear friends, I have to share this news once again that U.S. Allegedly had deployed nuclear weapons into UK first time since 2008, and this is a big deal. They are kind of sending message to Russia that they are ready to use nuclear weapons against us, and maybe, and not just maybe, but most likely, statement of Russian former president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Medvedev, in which he mentioned dead hand. Maybe that comment and this information about deployment of US nukes are related, because Medvedev is clearly saying that, you might eliminate with this first strike political and military leadership of Russian Federation if you will act this recklessly, endangering entire humanity and go ahead with such action. But keep in mind that hand, right? This perimeter system that will launch a massive retaliatory nuclear strike on US anyways, US and NATO countries, by the way, right? There is a reason why Medvedev mentioned this system. And it is very unfortunate. That very few people, by the way, even in alternative media, are paying attention to these matters, to topic of unprecedented scale of military escalation that US and its NATO allies may come up with after this ultimatum will expire. And I don't get it. Why there is no much talk about it? I don't know. Why there is no demonstrations in the Western countries, by the way? Do they really want to die? I mean, do Western societies understand what Medvedev just said? Or do they understand that their leadership is risking the lives of everybody on this planet, right? They are threatening lives of everybody on this planet, including lives of the citizens of US, right? All 300 million of them. And all 500 million of the lives of the citizens of EU member states. And there are all 8 billion people on this planet. Everybody's life is being endangered by reckless criminal behavior of the Western elites, right? And there is no massive demonstrations. There is no protest, no attempt, by the way, on a significant scale in the Western countries from the public to stop this madness. What the hell, man? Is humanity become suicidal? I don't get it. I just don't, man. And I guess not everybody, by the way, not everybody is on the same page with Trump and whoever is in control of Trump nowadays. And therefore, reports are, as I said yesterday, that Pentagon chief Pat Hexed may actually resign and go in politics, run for Tennessee governor. This was reported by NBC News. And I think it's not just a Pat Hexed, but there should be some more people in Trump's administration that were fooled by Trump, that that they are all that he is all about America first and America's best interests. And I think it's not just Hexet, but many others, maybe not many, but at least a couple of other members of Trump's administration probably are considering to leave their office because it's, current U.S. administration definitely not something that U.S. people wanted. I mean, policies of the administration, right? And definitely not something that U.S. Electorate was expecting. But it is what it is. So we might see some significant reshuffle in U.S. administration too. Let's see, by the way, but it is clearly a possibility. Also, dear friends, I mean, few more news. I will go through headlines at least, and let's, and then I will join community chatter. So, U.S. F-35 fighter jet, dear friends, has crashed in California. Also, ABC News reported about it. Pilot managed to eject and was taken to hospital. Yet another crash of F-35. And this fighter jet, by the way, reminds me, now we know which plane, F-105. A US F-105, F-105 plane was known in the West, by the way, as a flying coffin, because a tremendous number of pilots were killed and injured as a result of this that plane, right? F-105. And due to increased number of emergencies with F-35, I mean, this plane definitely resembles to me to that ridiculous plane F-105 was. Very fast, by the way, nuclear capable, very fast plane, but total garbage, right? As F-35 is basically. Right, yet another plane goes in flame. Okay, pilot did manage to escape, and probably will survive. He was taken to hospital. RT is also reporting that, well, dear friends, yet again, I did spoke about it yesterday, but for new members of community, I will reiterate that Kremlin responded to Trump's ultimatum quite calmly, extremely calmly, I will say. So Russia has taken note of U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to shorten their deadline for a peace deal in Ukraine and to issue new threats. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has stated. That's it. Russia has taken note of U.S. President's threats and ultimatums. That's all Moscow want to say about it. And maybe this calm reaction of Moscow actually trigger Trump to go ahead and make some crazy statements. Probably he expects that everything he says, well, Moscow will analyze like thoroughly, and Moscow will react with numerous statements back. But no, that's all reaction that he can get from Moscow, that Russia has taken note of U.S. President Donald Trump's threats and ultimatums. That's it. Okay, dear friends, Vzгляд newspaper is reporting that other Arab countries called for Hamas to relinquish power for the first time. For the first time, Arab and European states have jointly called on Hamas to give up its control of the Gaza Strip, endorsing a declaration to that effect. The document calling on Hamas to relinquish its authority in Gaza Strip was supported by the 17 countries, including members of Arab League and the EU. Erbeka reports declaration stresses that neither to end the Hamas rule and transfer weapons to the Palestinian Authority with the participation of the international community to establish a sovereign Palestinian state. And you know what? I think this is a reasonable request from Arab League, let's say, from Middle Eastern countries. And if Hamas leadership really cares about people of Palestine, they should actually transfer power to authorities in the West Bank, right? And that will no longer give Israeli regime opportunity to use Hamas, existence of Hamas, as a justification of continuous genocide that Israel is committing in the Gaza Strip. And so, obviously, I cannot know what kind of reaction Hamas will have on this initiative, but they might agree. They might actually agree on that and transfer power to West Bank authorities. And after all, Hamas members, they might create a new political party, right, and enter and continue their struggle for independence and continue to serve Palestinian people if that's what they want through these other means, right? Why not? So therefore, maybe Hamas will actually accept this offer. Let's see. It might work. It might. At least the Israeli regime will have no justification. We would not be able to use Hamas, existence of this group, as a justification of all the horrible crimes that Israel has committed against our Palestinian people, right? Also, when it comes to Palestine, dear friends, after France and UK, Canadian leadership also has made a statement, announcement that Ottawa will recognize Palestinian state in upcoming General Assembly of UN in September, and this is a step, forward, right? This is a good decision, obviously, and credit should be given when it deserves. So, if all three countries that I mentioned, France, UK, and Canada, will go ahead with recognition of Palestine, that's a good stuff. Okay, that's something of positive. But same time, these countries should stop assisting Israel in a genocide. Will they stop assisting Israel in committing genocide of Palestinian people? That's the major question here. Trump, nevertheless, U.S. President Trump, nevertheless, is very unhappy with these developments that Western countries, number of Western countries, are intent to acknowledge, recognize the statehood of Palestine. And he went on to criticize Canada. You see on your screen right now, post from Trump on his Truth Social. Let me read it. Wow. Canada has just announced that it is backing statehood for Palestine. That will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal with them. Oh, Canada. So, you see, by the way, I asked earlier a question, who is blackmailing Trump? Why Trump has changed this much from a person that we see during the election campaign or first month or two, maybe, after inauguration, and what we see now. I mean, what caused this dramatic change, right? In statements, in policies, and so on. And I asked who is blackmailing Trump, who is controlling Trump, and maybe answer is obvious. By the way, maybe answer is obvious. Elon Musk made a quite clear statement, even though he deleted his post on Twitter X, but he stated that Trump is on Epstein files. And I guess Elon Musk is in a position of these Epstein files. I really think so, right? Probably he got those files, copies of those files from some FBI staff, most likely. And I don't think Elon Musk posted that Trump is on Epstein files just because he was angry on Trump or something. He knew what he was doing. And if you take a look, by the way, of Trump's policies in regards to Israel, Palestine, how he acted, he bombed Iran, by the way, on behalf of Israel, then maybe it is becoming really obvious that Mossad is in control of Trump, Israeli secret services. Is it a possibility? I think so. Right? Israel is controlling Trump, and through Israel, by the way, globalists are also in control of Trump. So this personality is definitely not an America first. He's Israel first and globalism first now, because he controlled by Israeli secret services and by globalists. It is what it is. Diehard supporters of Trump may don't like this. Maybe they still hope that some miracle will happen and Trump will focus more on America again and that kind of stuff. But no, man, miracles are not happening on such a level of politics and the geopolitics. Everything is calculated and there are no miracles there, right? U.S. Meanwhile is sanctioning Iran again. So U.S. Treasury Department launches the largest sanctions package against Iran since 2018. Says they are targeting a shipping network tied to their Shamkhani family. Treasury claims this shipping empire sells Iranian and Russian oil around the world. And what? I mean, who the hell are you, a U.S. Treasury, to tell Iranian shipping company which oil to sell and to whom? I mean, what the hell, man? Someone had to put U.S. in its place, man. I mean, U.S. political class. Let's be real here. I mean, this is just really too much. This is just really too much. Obviously, I mean, Iran is immune to these Western sanctions, and Russia is immune 10 times over, right? We just simply don't care, man. We just simply don't care. We know how to deal with Western pressure. So therefore, I don't think these additional sanctions on Iran will make any difference whatsoever, right? RIA Novosti is also reporting that Iran's foreign ministry names conditions for resuming talks with U.S. As a part of conditions for resuming talks with Iran, the United States must guarantee that it will not repeat the attack on their country and compensate for the damage caused to the country, said Iranian Foreign Ministry Abbas Araghchi. According to Financial Times, which interviewed Araghchi, Tehran is hardening its position and they're putting forward new conditions for resuming nuclear negotiations with the administration of the U.S. President Donald Trump. Iran will not agree to business as usual, Araghchi said. They, U.S. that is, must explain why they attacked us in the midst of negotiations, and they must guarantee that they will not repeat this, and they must compensate for the damage caused, Iranian foreign minister said. And by the way, Abbas Araghchi is a diplomat, obviously, and he was asked during the interview about possible diplomatic relationships, I mean, negotiations with the U.S., and he said what he had to, right? That door is not closed for diplomacy, but if U.S. is serious about it, this is our terms, right? Guarantees that they're not going to do the same, and compensations. But what kind of guarantees U.S. can give, by the way? Can anybody really say that even if Trump will come out and say, you know what, I'm gonna honor the agreement now, I'm not gonna lie now, will anybody believe him? I mean, truly, will anybody believe anything that Trump might say? No, isn't it? I mean, he cannot be taken seriously, by the way. I mean, it's just that obvious, right? And therefore, yes, Araghchi is a diplomat. He came up with diplomatic statement. But what this statement means basically is that Iran will not do no business with the U.S. administration as long as there is no people there who can be trusted. That's what this statement of Araghchi means in reality, isn't it? It is the case. Also, dear friends, one of the biggest Russian language Telegram channels, Kirill Fyodorov, Vayna Istoria Оружия, posted yesterday that heads of foreign ministries of Russia and their Syria's regime there will conduct negotiations in Moscow on 31st of July, which is today. right? This information was given to TASS news agency by Maria Zakharova. Allegedly, I have not seen news itself on TASS, so that's why I'm relaying, as a source to Kirill Fyodorov channel, right? And so yes, maybe today there will be a meeting between heads of Russian Foreign Ministry and Syria's Foreign Ministry. Only question I have, why? I mean, on one hand, okay, there is a Russian basis in Syria, and therefore, unfortunately, Moscow had to deal with this terrorist regime in Damascus, right? To basically make sure that Russian troops in Syria are safe and secure as much as possible. But on the other hand, why would not we withdraw our bases from Syria and cut ties completely with this terrorist regime in Damascus? I don't get it, man. And by the way, take a look at the reactions on Kirill Fyodorov's channel. This is very patriotic Russian channel, by the way, Russian language channel, right? And look reactions on this news. For the moment when I saw it and copied it, right? More than 2,000 people disliked the information and only 26 people liked it. And more than 200 people were extremely angry that these contacts are happening, and Russia kind of acknowledging or giving legitimacy to this terrorist regime in Damascus while having these meetings. And so, I mean, this is quite telling, isn't it? These reactions. This is not some social study, and definitely I cannot say that that's exactly how society feels in Russia. No, I cannot say that. But what I can say is that subscribers of this one of the biggest Russian channels, Russian language channels on Telegram, has such a reaction on this news. And I have similar reaction, by the way. I don't get it through. Let's withdraw our bases from Syria. Let's make sure that this process will happen safely, securely, right? And just forget about existence of Syria after that. Just forget about it, and at least until people in Syria will wake up and actually began fighting for their future. But if locals, if people there in Syria are okay being run by or being ruled by the terrorists, then it's their lives, by the way. If that is their decision, then what can we do about it? Right? So yes, there might be a meeting today in Moscow. And if media will report about it, of course, I will share additional information either on my Telegram and Twitter X page or in the next updates. And few more news, dear friends. So RIA Novosti is reporting that Trump signed a trade deal with South Korea. So the United States and South Korea have signed an agreement obliging Seoul to purchase energy supplies. President Donald Trump reported on Truth Social network. We have quote here: "I am pleased to announce that the United States of America has concluded a comprehensive trade agreement with the Republic of Korea. Under the agreement, South Korea will provide the United States with $350 billion in investments, which will be controlled by the United States and selected by me personally as a president," he wrote. And there also, on top of that, there is other provisions in the document. South Korea will also buy LNG from US and other energy products worth $100 billion. It will fully open the market to American goods, including automobiles, cars and trucks, and agricultural products. United States will impose, nevertheless, 15% tariffs on goods from South Korea. So US goods will go into South Korean market with no tariffs, but US will impose 15% tariffs anyways on South Korea. American supplies, on the other hand, will be given access without tariffs, Trump himself highlighted. In addition, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung will visit the White House in the next 2 weeks, basically to, I guess, kiss the feet of the US president and officially sign up for this agreement. I mean, what an embarrassment for South Korea, by the way. What the freaking embarrassment South Korean political class is, isn't it? I mean, if I was South Korean, by the way, I would be outraged with this development. And same if I was a citizen of EU member states, by the way, because US did basically force to the knee Brussels, and they did the same with South Korea, by the way. I mean, they are bullying literally everybody they can. And it does not look nice, by the way. It's horrible. It's horrible, man. What is happening? And this will strike back on US too, by the way, because every such agreement is generating tremendous volumes of hate towards the US in the countries that US is bullying to submission. That's it will backfire. It will backfire big time on US, man. This is not the way business to be done, by the way, when you are basically terrorizing entire nations. And to stay on South Korean peninsula, by the way, rare occasion when North Korean politician is making headlines, other than either Kim Jong-un, head of state there, or his sister. I mean, very rare occasion when you will hear news about someone else. All right. But this is the case. This is the case. Rare occasion, exactly. So the US and South Korea are preparing for a nuclear war scenario on the Korean Peninsula. North Korean Supreme People's Assembly Chairman Park Geun-cheol said, the preparations, we have quote here, preparations of the US and South Korea for a nuclear war have entered the dangerous stage. This is forcing North Korea to take all necessary measures in response to the geopolitical crisis, the politician pointed out at the 6th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament in Geneva. Park added that for the North Korea, developing means of preventing deterrence against security threats is critically important to protecting its sovereignty and territorial integrity. According to the politician, the US and its satellites are provoking instability and chaos in order to maintain their hegemony. Pyongyang will not tolerate American arbitrariness, whatever that means, and will stand up for international justice. He noted. Park Geun-cheol added that the North Korean people are making significant progress in developments. Okay, dear friends, I just wanted to share. I don't know if this North Korean politician is exaggerating threat of nuclear war in the Korean Peninsula or not, but due to destructive nature of the U.S. And U.S. policies globally, then nothing should be ignored. No threat it should be ignored or excluded, right? So obviously, it's not just North Korea, but also China and Russia will pay close attention to developments on the Korean Peninsula. And this is it when it comes to news segment for today's first live stream. I hope there was there was no super chat, no nothing. So okay. So this is it for the news segment, dear friends. I hope you did find it informative and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary in the comment section after stream will end. And let's take a couple of minutes. By the way, let me get engaged with the chat now also. So there's quite a lot of news, isn't it? Quite a lot of news. And as I said earlier, maybe today I will, or most likely today I will make a second update, walk and talk type of video for our Patreon and Boosty communities. So let me get engaged with the community now. As always, dear friends, capital Q or capital letters will make it easier for me to spot the question or the comment. I'm scrolling fast here through chat, and therefore these capital letters might actually help. We have a question from Didish Kumar. Levan, do you think they will hit Transnistria? So many articles came last 7 days. They might. They might actually attack Transnistria. A risk of that is always there. A risk of combined military operation of Kiev regime and Moldova against Transnistria is always there. But if it will happen, if this will take place, Russia will hit back hard, not just on Kiev regime, but also on terrorist regime of Sandu, Western-backed terrorist regime of Sandu in Chisinau, right? So they should calculate everything before greenlighting terrorist attack on Transnistria, because Russia will hit back. Maybe right now Russia is in no position to send military directly to Transnistria, but Russia is in a position to literally obliterate military capabilities of Moldova, military industrial complex of Moldova, and if order is given, then leadership of this terrorist regime in Moldova, right? With long-range precise strikes. So risk is there for sure. Risk is there, but I'm not yet on the page that attack on Transnistria is inevitable. Could be, especially now when due to this Trump's ultimatum, we should expect escalation, massive escalation from the collective West in all directions, by the way. In Transnistria direction, in Southern Caucasus, inside the Russia itself. I'm quite sure after ultimatum will expire, as I said in previous updates, US, UK, France, Germany, other NATO member states and their proxy Kyiv regime will use whatever assets they have to orchestrate large-scale sabotage operations inside the Russia, by the way, to distract transport communications, to distract telecommunications, radio communications, to distract as much as they possibly can when it comes to life, right? Everyday life here in Russia. Same time, we should expect a tremendous increase in long-range strikes with the drones and missiles deep into Russian territory, including towards Moscow and St. Petersburg. We should expect all possible escalations. I mean, anything that they can do, I mean, enemies of Russia, they will probably do. Maybe with the exception of nuclear strikes, at least straight away, right? It might actually escalate towards nuclear exchange, right? But I don't think U.S. gonna deploy its nukes against Russia straight away, right? On the day after this ultimatum will expire, but they will do whatever else they can do, right? And hopefully, Russian political leadership and Russian military leadership is ready for that. Society, by the way, is definitely ready to take on enemies, man. We are ready. Just, we hope we will see the escalation, but if we have to do some fight against anybody, then we will fight. This is attitude in society, by the way. If we have to, that's what we will going to do, and not just against the Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky that we are already fighting, right? I'm talking about other enemies too. And again, we don't want no wars, by the way, but if we are attacked, if we have no choice, then we will fight. We will give a good fight, by the way. Billy Ashton is commenting, when will Zelensky recall and deploy his Monaco battalion? They are the billionaires and millionaires who had it away on their toes, or they could carry on living their good life. Yeah, I can understand your irony, Billy. Thank you for your question and the comment. If anybody didn't understand the question, dear friends, Billy is referring to a numerous number of representatives of Kiev regime, by the way, elites of this so-called Ukraine that are having a very good life all over the Europe, by the way, and they are not shying away to demonstrate how rich they are, including in Monaco, by the way. And to demonstrate your wealth in Monaco, you really have to be rich, by the way, not just rich, but filthy rich. And in Monaco, there is God knows how many these filthy rich criminals from Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky and their family members, by the way, right? And that battalion probably will stay there forever in the West. They're not going back to Ukraine. Why would they? They have a great life on expense of ordinary people, right? And on expense of not just ordinary people in Kyiv-controlled territory, but on expense of taxpayers of US, Europe, other countries from collective West. So they are filthy rich, man. No, you are wrong. We want medium-class fighters to replace Mirage. All Russian fighters are heavy class, so we did not allow F-15 as we already have Su-30. Well, I mean, I can see logic. I mean, what you are saying there. And Rafale is a medium range fight, and it can kind of replace Mirage 2000s that Indian Air Force has. Also MiG-29s, right? But you could order MiG-35s. I don't think Rafale is any better than MiG-35, really. But I think while buying Rafale planes, Indian leadership was, looking ways to, build some relationships with the Western elites that they think will help them. But I don't think so. I mean, take a look at the history of relationships of India and the Western elites, by the way. There is nothing good there for India. Literally nothing good there for India. If anything, it's a genocide of Indian people, right? Take a look at the history. You know better than I do, man. So if current Indian leadership is still thinks that they might, find common ground with their Western elites, and Western elites will respect Indians and Indian interests, then they are wrong. They are just dead wrong on that, right? That's how it is. But I don't care about Rafales, by the way. But I don't think it was a purely military decision. I think it was a political decision. That's my point. Otherwise, Rafale is a not bad fighter. I never said that this is a bad plane or something. It's a good fourth generation fighter jet, 4++, one might even argue, or 4.5, right? It's a good plane, though, right? Maybe there was an intense campaign against Rafale by Chinese media, or pro-Chinese media and pro-US media, because they have their own interests, right? US wanted to discredit Rafale to increase competitiveness of US planes, and China wanted to discredit Rafale to increase to demonstrate battle capabilities of its planes, right? And Pakistan was operating with a significant, and continues to operate with significant number of Chinese planes, right? It's J-10 and whatever, and not just planes, by the way. But nevertheless, I never said Rafale is a bad plane. It's a good plane, but with in hands of good pilots, Rafale can do very good job, right? But I think this decision to buy Rafales is actually political decision first and foremost, and then military decision. Otherwise, India could do business with Russia and ask for MiG-35s, for example. And also, India could ask MiG-35s to be developed for its navy. And I'm quite sure Russian military-industrial complex is well capable to, do this stuff for India. But they choose Rafales, right? Okay. It's all good, by the way. I mean, of course, I would prefer Russian planes to be abroad, but nevertheless, it's up to India, right? I just hope Indian leadership will not fail to trap, by the way, that West is preparing for them, because if they will fail, that's going to be big setback for entire world, not just for India, but for entire world, by the way, for BRICS, for everybody. I mean, for whole world. We need India in multipolar world as one of the leading countries, right? Kate Stone is commenting, BRICS needs to rapidly create a currency. I agree with you absolutely. BRICS has to accelerate its work on alternative financial and the banking system and alternative world reserve currency. I mean, it's so obvious, isn't it, Kate? It's just so obvious, but for whatever reason, maybe because there is too much internal negotiations and stuff, but for whatever reasons, I mean, we didn't really make much of a progress in this direction, which is unfortunate. But I completely agree with you. I'm on the same page that we definitely need, world needs, by the way. I mean humanity, right? We need alternative reserve currency and alternative financial and banking system. It is what it is. I mean, we just need this. And dear friends, let me end this live stream on that. Ayn, just let me make sure that there was no. Okay. So this is it, dear friends. Thank you very much for your attention and support. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.